Mr. Hucks, let's continue that thought process. Why did you pay?
Very early in the event, we realized that this was quite a widespread event. We have as I mentioned, over 600 servers. These servers are spread across our 52 campuses, where at each of those campuses, we have file servers that store the files and the work of all of our students and all of our faculty. Once it became clear that a large majority of this data had been encrypted, the backup scenarios that we use, we primarily centralize our backups at our district office and our data
Is it fair to say you had no choice?
We had no choice if we wanted the data returned in a reasonable amount of time. So certainly with any backup scheme, there are holes in your backups. You may not back up everything, but even if you do, the amount of time to restore can be significant. So we felt the business value of getting that data back in the hands of our students and our teachers was worth the $8,500 ransom to expedite that restoration of data.
And when it comes to law enforcement, they could not assure you that they could fix this problem anytime soon.
Not at all, not at all. They said good luck and please keep us posted. They asked us to provide as much data as we could on any communication that took place between us and the attackers so that they would have more data to try to track down exactly where the attack originated, and we certainly did that. We have heard since then and around the time of the attack that there were numerous organizations that were hit through the same vulnerability that we were, that the FBI was tracking.
Did they have any clue who did this and where they were operating from?
No, sir. If they did, that was not shared with us. But
okay. Just very briefly, what kind of disturbance did it cause for you? Was this a fairly traumatic event for the school district?
Well, I've been working in this field for 30 years, and it was probably the worst month of my life. So it was rather significant. The first day, day zero of the event, all of our computing resources in the entire district were shut down. And this is a district where there is daily dependence on the use of technology. All of our students, grades 5 through 12, have a personalized device that is issued to them by the district that they use all day. And it was essentially a standalone device for that first day. We were able to restore internet and network activity on the second day, and in the days that followed, we were able to restore the operational systems on a priority basis, but a full restore of all capabilities and all systems took a matter of weeks.
Thank you. Mr. Blauner, is that right, Blauner? Okay. Have you looked at our legislative proposal?
I have not reviewed the proposal at this point.
Would you please review it and get back with us and
yeah,
try to
absolutely.
make it better? Do you generally believe the committee's been on the right track with what we've been trying to do in terms of dealing with this issue holistically?
Yeah, I think we as an industry are very supportive of the idea of making this game more dangerous for the criminal
That's
actor.
my goal.
Right.
That's my goal, is to make it the upside a lot greater. I mean, downside a lot greater than the upside. That is the goal. And whatever we need to do to make the downside greater is what I want to do, understanding we're national laws. Where do you see this crime going if we don't up our game, as Senator Whitehouse talks about?
I think we, as an industry, view this as an accelerating problem. All right. Financial services, especially, has always been a target. It goes back to when criminals actually had to physically go somewhere. But the reality is, back in the old days, the odds were sort of in our favor. The risk-weighted return on investment for a criminal was very low. The risk-weighted return on investment for a criminal now is very high, and their cost gets cheaper and cheaper as they no longer have to be technical experts. They can buy the services necessary, and thus the cost of entry for a criminal is marginal. And thus for them, until we make it more painful, it'll continue to accelerate.
The worst is yet to come.
Yes, without intervention.
As you can tell from Mr. Huck's testimony, this can be a very devastating event. Mr. Myers, quickly here, tell me about what can we do when it comes to the Bitcoin world as a legislative body? And how do we do what the gentleman just said, make the downside greater?
In terms of making the downside greater, I think we need to really focus on where it's more expensive for these adversaries to operate. If we are able to raise the cost of doing business, whether it be getting onto the machine or whatever it might be, if there's a way to kind of turn the table in the economic model there and make it more expensive for them to operate, that's when we're able to make that downside.
What about nation-state collaboration? Are there nation-states out there that are actively involved in this kind of activity?
Yes, I believe there are.
You agree with that, Charles?
Our observation is that there are nation states that don't necessarily cooperate well with the FBI as you try to chase a criminal down.
So botnet havens, or for lack of a better word?
I think it's more about havens for the human beings. The botnets can be anywhere.
Yeah.
It's not the computers that are doing the harm. It's a set of human beings behind them.
A place where they know the upside is, the downside is pretty low.
Yeah, a place where they know that prosecution and extradition is unlikely.
Okay.
I would say that in many cases, you'll see that the malware will actually look to see if the keyboard or the language that's used on the machine that's being infected is Russian and will not infect it in those cases.
Briefly, name a couple of countries who you think are the worst offenders.
I'd probably start with Russia, and the list would be various Eastern Bloc countries behind that.
You agree with that, Ms. Blum?
I think I'll leave attribution to the law enforcement agencies,
Okay.
frankly.
All right. Thank you all very,
That's
very
good.
much.
Another question?